the first year of the Second Republic, now we're going to the tracker. So this is how it looks like if you go to our website. We've got, it's very interesting. If you see at the top there, policy tracker. If you click there, you'll find something else that is totally different. It's called Open Budget Zim. We have tracked government expenditure since dollarization up to now, looking at sectoral allocations, etc., etc. Because one of the challenges that we have in this country is having a proper repository of data. When you begin to discuss the economic situation in Zimbabwe, there are many statistics fly. We're quoting from the World Bank, from the IMF, etc. ZimStats also we quote, but I think there's one challenge to say, how do we create data? But we have to make sure that that data is something that a citizen, a journalist can use. We have packaged in such a way that it's highly visual, it's easier to follow and to track.
Our questions, we will work again with 3 questions at a time and then proceed from there. Thank you very much. Engineer Gwetu, I know you had a question. We had deferred your question until later. Are you ready with yours? I'll let you finish registering. David, if you could go ahead with yours.
Yeah, mine is a response to what you picked up on. This issue of the service level benchmarking.
Okay.
Maybe for the RA industry.
All right.
Now, in light of, I've attended one for now, service level benchmarking is mainly around organized by UCAS, the Urban Councils Association of Zimbabwe, which has got benchmarks based on best practices, internationally accepted best practices. Those are the indicators that they use to measure each local authority. Now, it would then mean that we should have those benchmarks for the industry, first of all. Then we should have a level of homogeneity for the industry. And I mean, generally, even levels of financing, there should be a level of uniformity for that's my observation.
Okay, I'll take a note of that. I have an opinion, because I think that, to my mind, that speaks to the name of the church and the name of religion. And the question is, do we petition this and other authorities then know that there is this regulatory body? If we delegate that regulatory authority to the state, there are things that attend to it where we could lose our independence. But if we then self-organize, so perhaps that could then be a question, and maybe we could defer that to some of the things for this benchmarking this, so that any municipal authority then knows what they are dealing with and the rules of engagement are clear.
Then I have a question for Dr. Kurisa. What criteria for the tracking, mindful of the fact that your efforts are aimed at assisting us in having evidence-based advocacy?
Basically 2 questions, and then the third one is an observation. The first question is, it's quite interesting the way we moved from the introductory phase of mentioning party manifestos, and then the legislators then emanating from those parties to come in to do policy formulation. That's quite interesting. Now then the question is the party manifestos influencing the developmental drivers? Also, besides those, it's quite an interesting scenario, because they promise, yes, at party level, but when they are in the driving seat, what interactive processes are there within these institutions, which are now council and the originating party from which the policy formulators are emanating from? That was question number 1. Question number 2, the tracking. Did it factor in
issues like water shedding, right? Because Bulawayo has been in a state of water shedding for the past 3 years. Climatic change, you may call it. We have been having lesser and lesser inflows into our open surface sources, such that it not react instantly. So the frequency of the observation is, there is one other interesting, one of my colleagues mentioned, should also come to enlighten the residents' associations about their role in lessening the issue of non-revenue water, right? Because non-revenue water has got a direct input in terms of the quality of service, in terms of water delivery. Bulawayo, when we started, we've got a master plan. When we started years ago, our non-revenue water was as poor as 69%. But we've been coming up with interventions. Water mains renewal, meter replacement, right? We need to track every liter of water, right? So this one is just an observation. So I think Civil Institute can also maybe want to factor that in terms of empowering the residents' associations to say, you have a role to play there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I go off you, I'm coming back to you said when we started, when was that master plan initiated?
The master plan, we're almost a decade into it now. Almost a decade.
Right.
Yes.
So if we've got a 69% start point, what are we on now?
Right now we are around 39 to 40%.
39 to 40.
Yes, and it's been an uphill task, but we are pushing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Doc, you've got those 2 questions, yes? Okay. Baba Dube?
Thank you, Chair. Actually, mine is an observation that has got a request going with it. First and foremost, I'm saying, after such a very good exercise that has been carried by CVO, what is the next plan going forward, CVO, with the RAs in the country? Why perhaps I'm bringing this forward, it is through the observation from the presentations that we have just observed here. It would appear quite a number of the cities that are here, or the RAs that are here, they had some challenges vis-a-vis engaging with their local authorities. Like one report came out clear, they had a serious challenge where when they got to the place where they wanted to carry their exercise, they were sort of some challenge and blocked like that. What could be the best way that could be created to allow that kind of collaboration to be extended so that there is that good understanding between the local authorities and the RAs? And why perhaps that one is coming so much strong, I'm saying, why don't you as Civil Institute engage with the local authorities, let the local authorities understand you pretty well, and let them understand your role in working with the RAs, what you are actually really hoping to achieve and you are really wanting to do. This will allow a situation where the RAs, when they are engaging with their responsible local authorities, they will find a way. It will be easy when you say, okay, we are moving and wanting to do this particular exercise, or we are carrying this exercise, we are under the Civil Institute. Local authorities will be aware of who Civil is and what their intention. The fear is perhaps most of these local authorities will be very hesitant to let such organization to come forward because they've got that fear. Remember, in our Zimbabwean scenario, we are highly polarized to such an extent that everything that happens, we think are they not going to take over my position? So we really need to come out open so that we can be allowed, and it will be it will make us easy. And summing it up, I would say this exercise that you have really come up with, to us as RAs, it has really proven to be working so well, because you heard from the presentations. All of us said, okay, we have challenges of coming together as different resident associations. But after CVO, you have made us come together. We have realized that we are one and the same people that are pushing one objective. But prior to that, we were, having this different thinking to say, that one is what. But CVO, you have really created a situation which will help make this country be a better country going forward.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to find out, you said Bura is the mother of all residents associations. How old is Bura, sir?
Bura was actually established on the 6th of August in 1964. And I'm sure quite a number of you here were not yet there.
Okay. Is there a cordial relationship between Bura and Bupra?
Very much.
Very much.
Because I believe Bupra is actually the child of Bura.
Right.
Doing complementary work, we are one and the same people doing the same good job.
So, without preempting Doc Morisa, I think therein lie some of the solutions that we are deferring to CVO. That we can then demonstrate the relationship Bura, Bupra have with each other, as well as those two with the Bulawayo City Council, and begin to use that as a template for the rest of the nation. Because I think if there's an experiential template that can be used, it becomes a lot better than an external facilitator, because CVO might not be interested in what you want them to do. Dr. Morisa. Mutare, get your money together. It's not going to blow up, right?
That's my fear, exactly. Now I come back home and people want to blow me out. Okay, just behind me.
Oh.
Oh, that's fine. Quite a number of questions. Quite a lot to sort of stew upon. I may not have all the answers, but like Mandaza is saying, some of the things actually is to defer back to the practices within residents' associations themselves. Because I want to reflect first on the videos, the 4 stories from the 4 cities. And I want to, just to reiterate what Abadue found, when we look at relationships between residents' associations and councils, we see varying patterns. Yeah, we see the colleagues in Bulawayo having access, and it shows. Look at the colleagues from the city of Bulawayo; they're still here. Shows the sort of the confidence they have with one another. They came trusting. They did not know of Severe Institute. They came trusting, and they participated. They are not participating on the back of our name. They are participating on the back of their relationship with Bupra and Bura. Bupa, is it? No, Bura. Yeah. So that is very important as a takeaway to say, on the one hand, we've got 2 extremes. On the one hand, we have Bulawayo, which demonstrates a working relationship. There may be challenges. Life is like that. Even in chat, yeah. But it's something that is working. We see that. Then we have another extreme, Mutare, where they say we were not even given permission to go in. We had to use a drone, wanted to use a drone, we faced challenges, etc. So again, those extremes, to begin to say, how then, because we always believe that for policy change to happen, there are those who believe in going to the streets, engage in what you may call megaphone activism. It has this place and it may work. Demonstrations, whatever. They have their place, they may work. But for an ongoing, long-term, sustainable change with citizens as stakeholders, you may find that you need cordial working relationships. Yeah? That is normally the best way forward. Throwing stones at each other is when relations have deteriorated. That should not be the norm. Yeah. So we realize that, and we realize also the fact that that's not the one. The one that, yeah, that one. So we realize the fact that relationships are important, and how do we create these good relations? At this stage of learning as adults, we can only learn through experience and by practice. So Civio can come up with all sorts of modules. It will not work, but it will have to be based on a case study of what works and a case study of what does not work. Then begin to realize the lessons from both case studies. Why is Mutare relationship with council like that? We need to understand, because there are lessons there, and we begin to work on those lessons to say, how do we build upon, how do we turn these failures into a success? We could find that there's very little that needs to be done. It's just maybe the introductions, relationship building. At the end of the day, I always laugh that Zimbabweans are one way or the other related. People in residence associations will meet with people in council at a funeral, at a wedding. How do you fix relations using those informal channels and build? Because advocacy is about relationship building. If you're going to get a policy win, you have to find a way of relating. Even Zimbabweans find each other easily. All those things, they are very important in the kind of work that we have to do. Those are the things that we may take for granted, but they're important. So Civio, and we'll try, we'll demonstrate, we can create a module about building relationships, but I can assure you, learning from others will be the best way forward, yeah? And why don't we as Civio Institute engage with local authorities, etc., etc.? We love that, but Baba Duve, let me tell you our approach. Our approach has been to be at the center, but not at the center. What we are not trying to be another residents association. We are not trying to be another umbrella association, because we realize that we don't represent any resident. We're not voted into office. That we can try. The intercity exchange, we can't. And when we go to councils, we'd rather it be at the invitation of, yeah? And if council, at any point, any council for that matter, not only Bulawayo, they feel like they want to engage with us, we are ready to engage. And we can also approach them. But what we are trying to do is based on a framework where we believe that the best foot forward for an effective local government, local authority, is active residents associations. So how do we contribute towards that? Is to build in terms of their capacities. Make sure that they have all the craft literacy skills, craft competency skills around analysis of policy, dealing with data, being able to sit in meetings and contribute meaningfully. Because the challenge we have had, like I said earlier, the participation in Zimbabwe around policy processes at times is tokenist. We're invited just to rubber stamp something. But that's what we're trying to disrupt, to say, when you go in there, we want you to go in there to raise the unexpected, to raise the real issues coming from the community, basis of the input of the Residents Association. Ambitious as it may seem, Sangrapa local, if we don't start there, we can never influence the national. So the real issue is about saying, for us residents associations, so it's very important for us. But if you end out as a room, a list, so these are people. What criteria was used to identify respondents? Honestly, it's random sampling. Random sample where they are responding from. If they're in Senga, if they're in Tapa, if they're in Koba, we can pick it up. Credibility of data. Data is always going to be tested. Data, whether I go and get tweet under a tree, running away and pretending that I've answered questionnaires and I've asked 10 people. When it comes to presentation, like today we did, and for me the test was affected me. But in the main, I don't think there was much disagreement, because data will always project if it's true data. So data, the only way you can tell that data is legitimate is when you bring it back and then they begin to say, but yeah, our schedules actually say the majority of the times people get water for 12 hours twice a week. That's the majority we got from Bulawayo. So you come back to them and say, is that the policy or is that the practice? Then they verify that. Then you know that your data is what? Is correct. If you don't, there's no other way except to test it that way. Data is always going to be subject to testing. Engineer. Party manifestos, to what extent do party manifestos influence the delivery of service? There are times when I want to do things in camera. There are times when I don't want these live stream things. Because our assumption, engineer, the assumptions of democracy, the assumptions of constitutional democracy, is that public authorities, governing authorities, be it at the local level and at the national level, are run and influenced by political parties that have won elections. Yeah? But we know that bureaucrats, this is why Max Weber comes and says, it's actually bureaucracy that matters, not what democracy. You know what I mean? So there's always that temptation to say, at times we invest a lot as citizens in voting in Ukumalo or Mabena, and we think we've done our cause. Then when Mabena is in his honest element, you tell my daughter, mina angikwazi into ezikhulumayo. Because mfike council sekwenzakele konke. Bengazi besamse hoteleni, ibudget isibhaliwe. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's that. So there's something that we need to understand to say, government in practice, who really has the power? When you begin to do that, we actually realize that people like you, the people who run the affairs of council on a day-to-day basis, you have room to make so many decisions that councillor may not know of. Yeah? Because councillors are part-time. That's number one. They're just not part-time, but they also may not have the skills. Because remember, some votela because he's popular. He's popular. Gasolagale mfeni. Anju? Gasolagale mchatweni. Umbe nguyu MC mchatweni nene. So, siyamvotela. But uthi wafundela ngaphi budget uzayivala njani asikwazi. And they will write documents. Ngabe unike ikit yakho councillor, here's your file. Bazomnikeza. You get it? So it's that challenge to say, how do we make sure? Because there are initiatives to train councillors, to train members of parliament, but are they enough? Because remember, we're always changing them. We're always changing. Like right now, Lama recall. Yeah? So we have a finally train of food vele ngasithi engineering department iyenzani fanele efundiswa phela. Yeah.
All the sits so
yes,
when he sits on the future water supplies committee, he has to understand what
but you expect this guy to make changes into. So for me, that's the fallacy of our democracy. In between, because the real people are equipped, people with budgets are not elected into office, and they're not answerable to us, and we may never know them. Yeah, it's the bureaucrat who runs his office. Limbo na limbo no wokichima. You know what I mean? And there's no mandate to see you anyway. Yeah, ngai ubona ubuza ufunani. Ingapi incwadi yakho, ingapi bill lakho asibona ukuthi hayi bill ama lizwisisi leni. They can just, but when it goes to cancel like was it bill ihambe njani. So I think this is a fundamental problem in electoral democracies, not only isolated to Zimbabwe, but across the board. And half the time when we elect, the ones that are competent, the ones that have skills, are too arrogant or too smart to be engaged in the mudslinging that happens in politics. So they shy away from politics. So we end up getting, some of the characters that are now in politics in both parties. Some of them we went to school with, and we just think, oh, okay, that's what has happened. But you see, they have the audacity to be dressed down in public. Some of us don't want that. Want to lead our private lives. So the quality of your democracy is going to be dependent also on the quality of the candidates. Yeah? Quality, but at the moment, I'm not so sure if we can totally say, in both parties, if we have the right qualities.
And in America.
Yeah, that one also. So, I want also this issue that you raised, because I want to go to something based on the issue you raised, engineer, around non-revenue water and the role of residents associations in lessening non-revenue water. The model, in many instances, when we look at residents associations and local authorities, but there's a new model. It's not necessarily new, it's always been there. There's a model that we have to think about governance as a joint activity. Others, we call it at Civil the with approach, working with government, with local authorities. What we are calling there co-production. We put citizens there to say what citizens do. Citizens work together with each other. They form their associations, they create their residents associations. They work for each other, they help each other. Times then do what do we do? Entumbane mtenga fasitatan. Uzbuten. That's what we do for each other. Then this work that citizens do with organized institutions. But I want to go to that one over there. Citizens working with government, with local authorities. That's actually the sweet spot of relationships between residents associations, because council, unless if you are that technologically advanced that your taps, your pipes have got sensors, at times you depend on residents to call and tell you that there's water elikenketa ekonene. Then you depend on residents to call you again 2 days later and say it has not been fixed. Because in other cities more advanced, they can see it on a screen, there's a leakage here, there's a leakage here. But in some of our cases, we don't have that technology. We have to depend on people. That's co-production, because you can't do that on your own sitting in your office. You have to depend on citizens. So if residents associations now make it their agenda to say, Zakamis, whenever there is a leakage, nasi number, asifunde nukufona, asifunde nukwenza, so it contributes to this reduction in the leakages. Yeah. So when you look at that in every approach, so I'm just using water as an example, but there are many other areas where even dealing with neighborhood safety, when you see suspicious individuals, this is what you're doing. So police cannot do everything on their own. They have to depend on residents. So that's the approach that for us we think is more sustainable, when citizens are working with their local authorities rather than in an antagonistic relationship. So it's an approach, it's a framework that we need to keep on looking at, to say there are certain things that local authorities, being experts, you are so good at it. Then there are certain things that residents and citizens, they are so good at it. Yeah? Because they are well stocked. You're not the ones who heal people. It's residents who go and look after Gulawayo, who feed la osele and kaya, who come and pray.
Fetch the water from the bowl.
Exactly. You see now. So, but at times we underplay that role, just like we underplay gender roles in a household. You know what I mean? That's exactly what we do with residents. We end up making look like Tina as council were the ones who are delivering for you. But residents are also doing something for you. So there is that width approach that we need to consider. So I just thought I would use that as sort of suggesting a framework we can look at. I think I'm done with the questions from this. But I'm hoping that it's not about questions to me, colleagues. There were 4 brilliant presentations that I'm hoping we can sort of all of us interact with, because there's a lot. And also, when we're closing, Pastor Elliot raised quite a number of things that I think also we can just discuss before we go on to the final part of the program.
Okay, thank you very much. I will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just take those 5. Sorry for not calling you by name.
That's okay. Cornelia. Maybe just to buttress the point that Doc was talking about in terms of working together, co-production. We are a residents association. We know there is scarcity of water. This is our teaching and this is our campaign that we are actually doing in our city. What are we trying to do? We are also sending the message to residents to say, as much as we want water in our taps, but our dam levels are too low, to an extent that no engineer from any other space would come and solve this, because the issues to do with drought, they are beyond anybody's control. So we have had this campaign for a very long time. We also managed to make sure that we crafted a water schedule together with City Council after we had the water in down, because we had actually realized that we had serious challenges in terms of water provision. And then we sat together with our engineers, with our council officials, to then say, what is it that we can do? The dam levels are getting down, they are getting lower and lower and lower and lower. Why don't we come up with a water schedule kind of program? Then it is there and it is functional, though at times it has its own challenges because of the structure. But I also wanted to find who are also in terms of with our local authority, a very serious relationship. We work together nicely. But I just wanted to find out from our fellow residents association to say, to what extent should we have a relationship with our local authority? Because at one stage, as an association, we crafted a plan. We realized that our local authorities are not getting the revenue that they are supposed to get, because we pay after consumption. That is the norm from every local authority. When you get water, you consume the water, you use the water, then later you are supposed to pay. But people are not paying for the services that they are getting from the local authority. So we came up with a plan as a residents association to then say, what is it that we can do? We then said we will demonstrate through paying. Demonstrating through paying, what is it that we meant? We then mobilized our structures to say every last day of the month, we'll go to council administration halls and pay something towards our bills, so that our council will also realize a bit of revenue in order for us to then demand for the services that we want. But the challenge then was coming from the residents themselves and other residents associations who are now saying we have become an appendage of council. We are working for council. But all what we were saying is that we understand that we are supposed to pay. We have an obligation as residents to say if the council has an obligation to provide the service, we also have an obligation to pay for the services that the council is paying. So I just wanted to find out from you, my fellow residents associations, to then say, to what extent should you have a relationship with a local authority? Because as we speak, we have a serious relationship and we are enjoying the relationship because it helps us. Advocacy issues, when you have an advocacy issue, there is no one who will push that issue for you besides the technocrats that are in the local authority, besides the councillors that you are supposed to work with. These are the people who then push your advocacy issue. If you have a water challenge, you obviously have to approach the city engineer. If you have a serious challenge in terms of relationship with the city engineer, then whatever you are advocating for won't work. So, but I wanted to find out from my fellow residents associations to say to what extent, especially from the mother of all residents association, to say to what extent should we have a relationship, because the issue of co-production to us as an organization is very important. But to what extent should we have a relationship?
Thank you, Cornelia.
In relation that it can be of help, severe can be of help maybe in materials concerning budget consultations. I realize that as persons with disabilities, we don't fully participate in budget consultations, reason being that we feel that they are not fully inclusive. You find that I have my colleagues with vision impairments. For them to participate, it becomes hard because the braille printed consultations are needed, sign language interpreters. If you may help maybe in crafting some information, audios to accommodate the vision impairment and some other form of information, we can help to work together so as to include everyone. Then the presentations that were made here, I feel persons with disabilities where the right to water is infringed totally, because on presented there, they are not even disability friendly. It's the case that as a person with a disability, I'm always with my guardian, right? So I need to access the water sources that are there. So I feel the local authorities should practice on disability inclusion. Maybe they make the boreholes that are suitable for persons with disabilities, so that we fully participate in everything that is happening within us, within our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Melissa?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to find out, I noticed that most of the city councils were talking about water, access to water and waste management. Was that part of the problem identification when the city councils were doing their probably issue identification, and what was the criteria towards selecting the particular issues that they selected for their case studies? And secondly, I'd like to commend the City Council of Bulawayo, Nesisa being here. I noticed that they are sharing a lot of information and they are open to discussion on different forums, etc. I think I've met the engineer and Nesisa on different forums where they have been sharing about what council is doing, and they've really been open to social accountability. But I would like to also find out, I noticed one of the videos for Harare was talking about an open cast land, something that then got water and they're using it as a water source. We have the same quandary with Kami Dam, where there are allegations of people who were thrown inside and people dying in the particular dam. What are the cultural implications of the people of Bulawayo or Harare actually accepting drinking water from such sources, where we know our ancestors who are named are still inside? And then the issue of co-production as well by the city councils. I'd like to specifically address this question to city councils in Bulawayo, to say that while we were talking about water, I just saw the video, we're talking about water, water sources, and we went to the site where probably water is cleaned, etc. Have you participated or assisted council in talking about the boreholes that we have as alternative sources of water? Because for years I've heard the city council talking about boreholes that are not functional and water sources and siltation within the dams that we have. What role has the local residents association played towards amplifying the need to desilt and the need to repair the boreholes that exist?
Just on the first one, the issue that the videos touched on, the tracker introduced was looking at three things in particular: water, waste management, and primary health. So that was what the process had been building up to. So that was the context for a lot of those presentations.
Maybe just a little clarification, because we are looking at solid waste and we're looking at liquid waste. For years in Bulawayo, per se, we've had a lot of challenges with liquid waste as well, in terms of sewer reticulation, best pipes, etc. So I was just wondering what then informed the prioritization is specifically on the liquid waste vis-a-vis the solid waste. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you. I can speak to that, but it will be in English.
Okay, thanks. All right. Thank you, Melissa. Ms. Mpofu.
Thank you so much. I wanted to go back on relationships, because I think that's, if we can get that working or get that right, we can change a lot of things. I'll start with a quotation that there's a lady called Mrs. Fagenborn. She used to own G&D, and she was one of our trustees. She said life is about two things: attitude and approach. AA. So I think in our relationship, it's attitude and approach. So as residents and as council, what is our attitude and approach to one another? What is our attitude and approach to our local councillor? Because there are many players and they all have roles, but it's us being able to pull together our strengths so that we can move the city forward. So I think for us as Bulawayo, we want to engage and we're open to engagement. But for a long time, because we also have the policymakers that we spoke of, there's been some distrust and some friction between residents, association, and policymakers, also known as councillors. So that distrust and misunderstanding and wrong perceptions of one another, to some extent, affects the relationship. But as service providers, that's what I'm saying, there's a thin lines and roles. But as council administrative, we try to separate some of that, some of those issues. for instance, you find residents saying, maybe we don't even want to work with the councillor. I remember when we had problems with selection of who goes to the office of the deputy mayor. They said, but you must sort it out. But we didn't vote for the deputy mayor. We was voted for as a councillor at a local level. So I think as residents, let's try and build relationships with our councillors. I know sometimes they are not available, but I think if we can bridge those gaps, and also what I felt we were not doing in terms of moving forward, we are not moving forward in terms of the co-production, co-creation. What program can we put in place is sitting down and say, residents, what can we do for 2020? What do we think is needed in Bulawayo? And what are we going to drive? So if we say we want to do a customer satisfaction, maybe survey, and then we sit down and say, okay, how does it work? How does it look like? And then we push that, even if it's just one program. I know we used to do it a lot. We've done a lot of cleanups with Residents Association, to the extent at one point we even got funding for refuse compactors. So it can be done, but we need to go back to say our main purpose of existence at some point is Bulawayo. I don't exist for council, I exist for Bulawayo. Just like Residents Association, I think you don't exist for Residents Association, you exist for Bulawayo. So if we can get to that common goal, and some people like to say D-rope, but taking our roles but focusing on one goal to move our cities forward, I think we can go far. And then also on the issue of in terms of roles as well, we do have the Citizens Charter that we've been working with. It's already an existing charter, and it spells out the roles and responsibilities of the citizens and also the council. So that forms our basis of engagement. But also the other thing we can do when it comes to service level benchmarking or even services, we do have that program where we looked at each service and then we put the level to say, how do you access the service? How often is it supposed to? But there's need to then engage the residents and the community to say, is this okay? Are these the service level standards you want? For instance, there's one of our directors said, when we engage residents, maybe we should explain to them. He says, we don't explain. We don't explain that if you pay us $100 in Zim dollars, it means that we must be happy when there are no street lights. We must be happy when there are potholes, because that is what the money will cover. I was just giving an example. Because service levels are also dependent on what we are prepared to pay. So we're also thinking for the tracker, can we not, even those people that we are engaging now, can we ask them, for the last 6 months, how much did you pay to the local authority? In January, I paid $2. In June, I missed, I was busy. Can we track that at individual level? Because individual responsibility is also needed. So I think there's that awareness of, but we are working together. Now I'm saying, I'm not asking residents associations to always approve everything that council does, because that's not their role. They've got a watchdog role. But also we are asking them to work with us, because we also have a mandate. We must provide the service. When we don't always get it right. So we're just asking, maybe there's need to come together and have a proper planning, a proper strategy. I know when we do our strategy, we try and engage, but I've never been called for a residents association meeting where they say, okay, this is what we want to do, or these are the issues we want you to address, or this is how our strategy looks like. I don't know, I've never been called to that meeting. Maybe they call my bosses, but it's okay. I think project for the Kami Dam recycling project, I think the council is still to engage residents. So some of these things, the cultural implications can only come from stakeholders. And maybe they are here, they can assist us. And then the issue she mentioned, I'm going to clarify this because it keeps coming, desiltation, because we try to explain what exactly is going on. So I'll ask engineer to take over on that one.
Thank you very much. The issue of residents. The residents are genuinely concerned that what has been happening over the years, the dams have been silting up. Therefore, the storage which we get is actually deceptive. Right, what we have there is one of our dams. Right, so just a brief one. when we abstract water from what we call abstraction towers. This is Umzingwane Dam. It's decommissioned. We are no longer abstracting. But this arrow shows our bottommost abstraction point. Right, they are abstraction pots. These are abstraction pots. Right. The bottommost is there. It's not under silt. There is still some water there. Okay, thank you. Right. We have some siltation, yes, but the siltation is not affecting storage. What happens is, periodically, after every 10 years, there is a hydrological survey which analyzes the volume of silt which has come in, right? And then when we design these dams, they have got a design lifespan to say, after, with Bulawayo dams itself, this is Umzingwane. Mike, can I have the other one? This one is Upper Nema. Again, it's decommissioned, but you can see our lowest abstraction point is somewhere there. You still have got the volume of water there. The last one, say, that's still Upper Nema. There should be, there's Lower Nema. Sorry, can you go back? This is Upper Nema. That's Umzingwane, Upper Nema, Lower Nema. The same thing applies. So currently, I just wanted to clarify that the issue of siltation in terms of the dams for the city of Bulawayo is not something which we should worry about for now. Maybe after 20 years to 30 years. But for now, we are still good. Thank you so much. I felt I should clarify.
Thank you, Engineer. I was a little distracted, Mrs. When Ms. Mpofu mentioned when was the last time you paid, or what have you paid over the last 6 months. I just settled my bill via EcoCash before the 2nd of October. That's what the SMS said. Okay, I'm coming to you, Sir Dube. I see you trying to jump in. This hand was up first.
Yes, thank you very much, Sir. I think CPU is compared to a bike that you find in the forest to the right and the coverage. So I've never said it. This is in front of me. I'm in Bulawayo. It's very good that we have also met other cities during the COVID period to discuss whatever we have as a problem. I would say the water problem is homogeneous in all our cities, the amount available. As for Bulawayo, I heard Gweru saying they don't have boreholes, but we have Lovu, and you have heard also in Matopo we have a sea, showing that most of the water that can be provided to Bulawayo is actually underground. Now, Harare talked about the problem of Kunzi Dam. These are actually water bodies. I don't know how much stake do cities as councils hold in terms of water bodies as compared to Zino. Because if you talk about Kwai Shangani, the Zambezi Water Project, all that I think is not under Bulawayo, which is why we're having a problem of the amount of water more than the palatability. We have no problem in clean water, but we have a problem in having enough water. So I would like to understand how maybe it is going to work. If today it is announced we have been given money to sink more balls, that is taking place. Where do we follow up? Need we fight?
To my knowledge, I think is a Zinwa Dam. We pay for storage and abstraction. Okay. So I think that if you recall earlier, we highlighted the issue that none of our presentations brought Zinwa into the conversation. And then Ms. Sumpos also highlighted the need for engagement with parliamentarians. Because even with devolution, we will find that there's still issues. When you look at America, even though they have a federal system, you still find that there's issues of state around democracy ties both residency and citizens, part of the discourse of what we are working on now. Because is working with the COVID response, I know that just moving our people that needed isolation or quarantine coming from South Africa that were designated for Bulawayo, putting them at a campsite in Matopos could not happen because that was a change of due restriction from one province to another. So those conversations will then require that we understand how to navigate national level politics and national level policy, because there's those constraints. So that's a good observation, and I think it broadens the scope of what we have to do. Therefore, it further entrenches the need for us to organize ourselves into a national body. Because when it's just the people from when it's just the Gweru Residents Association speaking, the situation is isolated. But like you said, water is a national crisis. So when when the whole nation has residents associations speaking at city, town, village, rural district council, we've organized ourselves all the way through, and we're saying we have a water problem, it becomes easier to engage Zimra in that space. I hope I'm speaking sense. I'm seeing some heads nodding, and I'm hoping they're the right ones. Mr. Dube, I'll take you, and then I'll open the floor to responses and contributions. So please remember, anything that has been fielded, we are all free to respond to, and not just Dr. Morisa, and I am watching my time because we are having too much fun.
My actually interest was actually triggered by Mrs. Pope, and she was actually making her observations here. She spoke of the distrust that is there between the resident associations and the councillors per se. Where does this emanate from? It emanates from the manifestos. Because we would have looked at the manifesto as the residents. Here is the time now, here are the councillors in place. We approach you, honorable council. This is not happening. What are you doing? Instead of him giving me an answer, or hey, she looks at me, by the way, I know you've got a certain political agenda. That's how he points and looks at me. Then now that's misunderstanding. No, you are in office now. I expect you to give me a positive response towards solving this particular challenge. He has got no answer. And that's where perhaps the distrust Mrs. Poff comes from. We would have been talking and say, we're expecting this and this. There are some of our councillors who, even on this day, you approach them and say, but guys, what efforts are you putting in place vis-a-vis the issue of water provision in the city? We tell you, how is the government? But you are saying, look here, you are in government, you are the arm of the government as well. Then we differ there. Those are some of the challenges that perhaps we do face. And then the other thing that we are seeing of late, I'm sure this is with most local authorities. In the yesteryears, local authorities had some certain investment innovations that they were actually putting in place. I'll pick one, for instance, in Bulawayo, with some good investments. The Ingwebu, with some good investments. We were running a farm, Eslip farm, where we were doing farming, you know, we're keeping income, konangali and so forth. You know, it was so good. You know, those investments, when it comes to budgeting time, I'm sure the officials here will agree with me, they were contributing a certain percentage towards the budget. So that at the end of the day, all the burden won't be coming to the ratepayer, who is also seriously affected by the economic situation. So these are the challenges we're saying. But as much as you come up with a budget that hammers heavily on me, but here I am. I am struggling as well just to make ends meet. It's an economic situation. So we are crying and appealing for our councils to be innovative and come up with sort of some investments that will sort of subsidize the ratepayer at the end of the day. Then that will make it happen. Then finally, let me take the other question that came from my colleague from Kweru. He says, to what an extent should, never mind, in leadership, sometime when you are sent, you say, okay, can you go and get such an office? When you go there, when that particular office would have explained the things to you and you understand, when you come out and say, no, but our people, let us understand this. Next thing they'll tell you, he went there and he was given a cup of tea. You see, but the truth of the matter is you would have actually been exposed to the truth and seen the reality. I recall here, I won't mention names, in Bulawayo, there's one town clerk we had in this city. What a man, I recall him. As resident associations, every time we had meetings, normally resident association are the activities that we do on a part-time basis. We call our meetings on weekends. Staff councils mostly, they will be off on that particular time. But we had this gentleman who was the town clerk. We could call our meetings anytime. He said, look here, anytime you're having meetings when you want me. This is the scenario. Because we were now not making decisions. We're not speculating whenever we're to come up with some decisions. We were well informed. So we cry for local authorities to open up and really make the residents or the ratepayers appreciate and see the reality on the ground. By so doing, we will sort of avoid a confrontational approach. To what an extent, work very well with your local authority, but it don't just become their pet babies. Yes, that's it. When I remember every time you reflect the people that are behind you, the residents. And when even you go to the council, when I'm saying, I want to engage with the town clerk or the mayor of the city, when I talk to him or her, he must appreciate that I'm not expressing my personal feelings. I'll be telling the person, hey, this is what is coming from the back. The people who are behind me, people who have sent me are expressing this and this. Let the person be that kind of person who is able to explain and put things clear so that when I go back to the people, I say, no, we have been made to understand this is clearly like this and this and this. Confrontational approach is not the idea. That's what you are getting from the mother of all associations. Confrontational approach is not the idea. And perhaps resorting to other solutions, let it be the last resource that you take after having failed. Perhaps you come to a compromise, we did understand each other. But yet, what I would say works is engagement and engagement, dialogue and dialogue until you get to a solution.
Thank you, sir. Okay, this will be my last two because I do have to now push us towards a conclusion. So go ahead, Mr. Sibindi, and then Mr. Mpo. Mpo. Right.
Well, thank you, sir. What I'd say, I have got some observations. That I want to believe and agree with my fellow colleague, Ms. Dube, that the best way in order for us to get quality service is engagement. And I also want to have a bit of a comment on the issue that was raised, that of mistrust. But at times, between the residents and councillors, at times I've always said when I'm talking some other forums, I was saying, no, there's no mistrust. It's a question of us failing to understand our roles. Why do I say so? I've had a situation whereby you find that there is a councillor and there is a ward structure. When people are being elected in the ward structure, because the councillor thinks that the person whom he thinks they should be in the ward structure, they were beaten the elections. The councillor comes up with what I can call a parallel structure. And he'll dub it to say that, and he'll boast in public, say, no, you see this structure, this is the councillors' committee. And you see those residents being happy called the councillors' committee. And I've always said to them, my brothers and sisters, do you really understand your role? So that alone causes some challenges. Meaning to say that if this other committee that was elected democratically by the people, they say, Councillor, can you come and address our meeting? He doesn't come. He say, no, I'm waiting for my committee to call a meeting. Already there is a problem. So I say, to me, it's not mistrust. It's a failure to understand the role of the residents and the role of the council. If that one could be cleared, possibly, I don't know what forum, Sylvia, I think, can play a role deliberately. You can arrange some trainings, or you bring in both residents and councillors. Let those things be discussed in public. I think there will be a learning curve to some of our colleagues that I am seeing. And the other is that I want to talk about the issue of, to what extent that the relationship you have with the local authority. Well, the relationship is already there because the local authority must provide service and they must pay for the service. But what really matters now is for us to get quality service, we need to move together. How do we move together? There should be engagement. In one meetings, there was a councillor, I'll go back to the councillors because I interacted with them a lot. There was a chaos in that meeting when the councillor said, get us right here. Our business as councillors is to consult you. But consulting doesn't mean that you must do what you want. There was chaos in that meeting. There was chaos in that meeting. You see, I'm going back to what Madam of his attitude and approach. The moment you do that, you're causing chaos. Even if I'm a pastor, I put the Bible down, deal with you, go back to my Bible. So that's what really happens. So we are saying we need to be very careful that when we are moving, that we need to understand each other, respect each other. We know that Bulawayo is there for us all, Koiri is there for us all, Arai is there for us all, Mtare is there for us all. So let's behave during our time. Let's not cause our relations that will fail our future generations. That's my talk. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Mr. Mpopo.
Thank you, sir. I'm from finance. I feel what a day we've been through. And I will be doing injustice if I don't comment regarding the budget issues.
So there you go. The council will fund residents' associations.
Because at the end of the day, I wish Silvio, and in fact, I'll be good, will be in touch with yourself. You can understand a situation as a finance someone in March, when we craft the budgets, you have to do the consultation and everything. Unfortunately, with the hyperinflational setup we're having, budget per our guidelines from our parent ministry was supposed to start in April. By end of October, should have submitted them. What you'll be saying now, just a loaf of bread is costing more than $60, $70. Yet a unit, on average in Bulawayo, we are paying $279. And now, because of the time, I wish I could expand more. I won't take much of your time. But without the finances, everything, that is the bottom line. It's a prerequisite in whatever we do. At the end of the day, even the consultation, just the recent one, which you were doing, even the data itself, which is supposed to be shared among those, the whole approach is wonderful, provided we can all go together and try to appreciate each other. I'm quite sure this understanding, yes, there is this because we don't communicate. Most of our residents, I'm a resident when I'm not in council, but the truth of the matter is the lack of appreciation and understanding. People feel they are taken for granted because they've got something, figures, which are ready, and you want them to, what kind of input can one make when it wasn't consulted from the onset and everything. Thank you, sir. Sorry that time is not on our side.
Thank you so much for that. I think we honestly need a framework of enhancing participation around budget. Because no matter how brilliant the master plan, the strategy looks like, the idea or the good ideas always fall depending on the budget. And the hyperinflation is also worrying. But there's also another aspect that we did not discuss in detail today, the issue about the allocations from national government through devolution. How we can try to create transparency around that, because we're still struggling to find out how the Minister of Finance actually calculates those funds to different local authorities. So that's number one. But that's also a challenge for residents associations, the extent to which they can also work with council to make sure that they help your presentations to national government around sort of if you notice the different allocations that were done in 2019, we also we're looking at them, we do not understand the formula that was being used. So it's important for us to see, is it based on your submissions, your requests? Do they just give you everything you have asked for, etc.? But just to conclude with what Mr. Dube said, I think let's not take for granted what he said when he talked about Ingwebu and the farm. Because this is where Mrs. Bob thing about your think tank thing. Over the years, if you look at local government, not only as something that happened last year, but over the years, like I said earlier, I grew up in Intumbane. Was just not a bar. It was a bar that was supplied by Ingwebu. That was a revenue stream for council. Right now, those who are drinking OPEC beer, buying from Delta, those profits are no longer going back to BCC. Yeah? So we've missed out on a revenue, a huge revenue opportunity. And we've given it to a private company. While this Ingwebu was our company, as council, as Bulawayo, because those revenues will now be deployed into servicing his gaps in the budget. That's why we could have good libraries of Bulawayo. I'm a library in Juve, in Popoma, beautiful library, because we're the revenue base where we could deploy those funds. So it's just what. Yes, I totally understand, and we're going to track it. How much as a resident that will track, but I think councils need to begin to, because it was the wave of privatization that pushed us to let go of these beautiful assets that we had and assume that we'll be efficient in collecting rentals or levies, whatever that we collect from citizens, and that will be enough for our budgets. But it's proving over the years that the quality of service delivery, if you look at if you just track, at the time we let go of those assets, service delivery also began to decline. Our roads, etc., etc. So I think we need to revisit even those kind of thinking to begin to say, what is wrong with local council running Ingwebu properly and putting this, abantu bethu bazonatha. Yeah, it's better to be not taking imali than to give it to a private company that is listed on the stock exchange that does not pay us anything, pays taxes to government, not to us. Yeah, so I think let's think through those, what he's calling the out of the box innovative thinking around revenue collection. Because even if you were to optimize and collect 100%, I don't think it's still enough for, in terms of the kind of development gaps that we have in the cities right now.
Thank you, Doc. So I have a note. I imagine that the conversations with regards people living with disabilities and creating the space is going to be a journey, and I hope that all of our colleagues have noted that in the conversation, because the easy solution from a municipal perspective is to either put boreholes or to deliver by Bowser. But to then help think through that space, I think all of us need to be able to make those accommodations with regards to the interaction, the consultation. For Bulawayo, certainly, Mr. Mpofu, you are here. You have heard that there is need for us to create some sort of an audio platform, definitely for the visually impaired. For the hearing impaired, we also need to figure out how to ensure their participation. But I am appreciative of the fact that there is sector by sector representation in the consultations. So it's just to ensure that we are more proactive in that regard. And I imagine any contacts you have that can help access societies and or associations that represent people living with disabilities, council would be more than willing to engage them, I'm sure. I'm surprised this is your first time sitting in the same room with Mrs. Mpofu. I've been here for a few years and we're on a first name basis. I appreciate, I lived in Harare most of my life and I've been in Bulawayo for 9 years. And I was just telling Ms. Mpofu that for me, I've just found that they publish in the newspaper that there will be this meeting, so I'm involved with festive celebrations, with city prayers, with water crisis committee, and various things just by an announcement in the paper. So I think as well, just that proactivity. And ultimately, I would think that our role is to come alongside in a partnership. Dr. Murisa mentioned that even in a marriage, just because you're partners doesn't mean you always agree. But ultimately, you remember that you're building a home. And I think in all of our cities, that's the goal. In our nation, that's the goal. We might have differences of opinion, but we have to break the silos in the conversation around the business units to help augment income. I'm a pastor as well. We are having to look at that because there's cost attending a church, and sometimes people just aren't that generous with their giving. Our dilemma is that for years we had a few things to say about oil and towels, and now we can't go into that line of business. But I think so you find that the situations we are dealing with at a municipal level are actually attending to so many other issues of life. So the more conversations we have, I think the greater the opportunity for us to spawn ideas and build up. So with that, I'm just going to conclude this session so that we can come into the wrap-ups, and I'll ask Dr. Murisa if there's anything else that we haven't covered. I know you commented on cultural implications, co-production, relationships, distrust, and various. So there's a lot that we've already addressed in just going through. So thank you for that. One of our faculty members for the training that took place is Dr. Mzime Ndebele, and actually the two of them, Dr. Mzime Ndebele and Rudo Mamombe. So we're going to give them the platform now so that they can speak to us with regards what's been framed as faculty response, which is the lessons that have been learned and suggestions for the future. We are coming on 4 o'clock, so we'll ask your indulgence to just go to 4:30 to accommodate our overlap in time. I'm hoping that will suffice for our faculty and for Dr. Murisa. So, Dr. Ndebele?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll start off by, I think we need to commend ourselves, but particularly Civio, starting off with Civio, and the residents associations themselves, because this has been a very enriching experience. And what I will present on behalf of faculty, and particularly focusing on the last module, Natai gave us a rundown there, the last module, which was the intercity exchange program, will show or reflect that it really wasn't about a top-down approach, especially when it comes to learning and reflecting, but more so a bottom-up approach. So we'll try our best to look at lessons learned and suggestions for the future as a forward-looking exercise. And as Pastor Elliott mentioned, for the intercity learning exchange, Professor Mbaya and myself were the course conveners, and we were assisted by Rudoma Mombe. I'm sure a lot of the people here from the resident associations know Rudo well, because she was able to travel and interact a little bit more with everyone. Okay, we can move on. And just to lay out of my presentation, I will briefly go through introduction and concepts of learning, and then look at the methodology that we used, or the approaches in structuring, especially the intercity learning module, and then move on to the process undertaking, curation and evaluations, because those all provided the reflections and the lessons that we want to dwell on. And then lastly, we'll provide some sort of framework, which is definitely not prescriptive, for improved performance by residents associations, and then maybe also a little something for Civio, just to whet our appetite for further discussion. We can move on. And I'll whiz through these, because throughout the day we've really been interacting and talking and probing around some of the issues. But just to give a background quickly, and what I would like us to do is to concentrate on maybe the italics in that particular slide, because those are the key messages or salient points that I would like to emphasize. So as has been said over the course of the day, we know that cities are faced with challenges and opportunities. And these challenges and opportunities are enshrouded in complexity. And so if there's a demand to then face those challenges and opportunities, the sort of holistic or systems approach, because a lot of the issues you cannot really approach it one at a time. And the participants of the course will tell you, even the alumni from other courses, that these are what we call wicked problems or issues. There are so many factors to consider. There is not one straight, simple way of looking at it. So what it then means is that for us as faculty, it placed a demand that we approach this course and look at how we were going to then provide the modules in a very innovative way to try and make sure that we had an impact on learning which was transformative, innovative, action or solutions driven, and so forth and so on. So some of the innovations have been highlighted or talked about, new practices, especially in the use of technology. For example, a lot of the residents associations in the presentation considered that some of the technologies they were using, the virtual platforms, this was the first time they were using them, but it was all done so that we could eventually appreciate the use of such tools. But all in all, we are really looking at how we can address the issues in our cities, and I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go. So moving along, I'd already started talking about innovations, but for us as faculty, what we were trying to address, or the gap that we're trying to address, is that most learning institutions or organizations or courses, they tend to lack the opportunity to provide such pragmatic and practical training, such as being provided through CVO, which addresses the developmental needs of our countries, or in this case, our cities. Because there's a predominance, and most of us have gone through school, college, etc., to have lecture-based approaches or carryovers, maybe because of our colonial legacies, where we have typical classroom teaching. But you'll find that this has a lot of hindrance because it's not problem-focused, it's not action-oriented, it's not innovative to some extent, does not integrate this idea of contemporary sustainability challenges and solutions into the courses. So the CVO Institute approach, or the model that we use, means of bringing into innovation into the class, or in this case, because we did not have classroom, into the learning process, and in so doing produce, I've called it the pracademics, but it's really just trying to emphasize the hands-on or the practical approach and the skills learning that we were emphasizing. And these efforts, what they do is that they equip participants with skills and with the experiential confidence to solve critical societal challenges. So just to give a little bit of context there. So what it led us to is the use of different concepts of learning. And I will just run down the bullet points there. And one of the concepts that we concentrated on is what we call social learning. Basically learning from each other. Some people call it peer-to-peer learning. Why? Because this has the ability to transcend or to cross local scales. In our case, we were talking about different cities, different institutions, and so forth, different cultures, and so forth and so on. Again, another concept of learning was what we called anticipatory learning, or forward-looking and iterative learning. That is learning as we go. Why we did this is because if you look at that third point, we were really focusing on what we call experiential learning. And I won't go into detail about these different concepts, but experiential learning is basically learning by doing. Because as human beings, we are shaped by our experiences. And particularly because we're dealing with adult learning as opposed to, say, a child learning, it's because adult learning makes use of experiences more. And we find that as adults, we tend to learn best when we learn by doing. There's a saying that says experience is the best teacher. And most often we tend to remember or hold on to our experiences much more than other forms of learning. For example, if you compare with a typical or traditional top-down forms of learning, such as memorizing, reading textbooks, or even learning by play, which is normally used, for example, for early child development, what we learn more in our adult phases from is experiential learning. So based on all these concepts and about adult learnings, what we did then as faculty is we tried our best to bring experiences to guide us through the learning journey. And I must emphasize that it was not a top-down approach in terms of faculty, civil, saying that they have superior knowledge or better knowledge and bringing it down to residents' associations. But it was also a two-way learning experience for us. So a lot of these reflections are reflections, but